Bruh, the stream quality is just getting unreal. You love to see it. A little edit done by Mr. Tyler Lee. Love to see it. Well, Tyler Lee Media. That's how it works around here. Crew, hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back to a little agency therapy. Hope you guys are crushing the week so far. Can't believe it's already Thursday. Hopefully you guys landed some clients. I'm gonna take a seat today. Just feels right. Just feels right. What's up, Coach Cam? Coach Cam in the building. Got Nick Lauer, Bo Jackson, all the crew hanging out today. Love to see it. Love to see it. Crew, we got a lot to cover today, so we're not gonna be doing too much fluff around the topics today. But for those of you that got access to the Miro board, and if you guys want to follow along today, I'm gonna drop the link to that Miro board before we jump in today. That way, you guys can poke around in here as I'm kind of going through stuff. You can copy things over. You can make some edits yourself. So I'll drop that in the chat for you guys if you haven't gotten access to it yet. Boom, there it is. There it is for you. So you guys can follow along with this and essentially use these frameworks that I'm designing so you can bring them into your own agency. So real quick, let's jump into the share screen. Yeah, yeet. And I'm going to turn off chat here, or at least the chat overlay. That way this is a little bit bigger on everyone's screen. So you guys, I made some edits to the board. If you've been in here in the last, I don't know, probably 12 16 hours, you will notice that there are some changes that have been made. Just a little welcome note here for you guys. Once again, you guys can take any of this stuff. This is for you guys to use. My biggest ask is that you just don't delete anything. I have a backup because I know sometimes things happen, so there is a backup, but try not to delete things as I don't check this on an everyday cadence. So but some rules here. I just want to cover these as you guys are kind of going through this stuff. Don't delete anything once again, but if you do that by accident, just hit Control Z or the undo arrow in this bottom left corner. It will actually allow you guys to undo whatever you accidentally deleted. Take whatever you guys want from this. I literally made this for you. All right, so feel free to take any of this stuff. The easiest way is just to literally click and highlight stuff and then copy and paste it. Okay, so Control C, Control V. Okay. Each frame has a corresponding live stream. So if you guys are new to the live stream today and this is your first time tuning in with us, one, welcome. We're super happy to have you, and we're excited that you're here to learn. But if you guys are here for the first time and you haven't seen the two previous live streams, that's totally okay. Stay. Okay, you're going to learn some stuff today that'll be super helpful, but go back, watch the other live streams because there's a corresponding live stream to each frame that you're going to see below in the description here. Okay, so go back and watch those, and you guys can find the. Obviously, you're probably on the YouTube channel, or you're finding me somewhere, so you guys know what that is. But if you lose my YouTube channel for some reason, here's the link right there. And guys, while you're here, just hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Would appreciate it. And then feel free to use the comment feature. This is something that I want to try out, see if it works with us or not. But if you guys drop a comment for me, so say you want to drop a comment here specifically, you can type out, "Hey, Josh, what did you mean by this?" And if you have a specific question on a certain part of the framework, you could drop those there for me, and I'll be able to read them. And then if you just leave me your email at the very end, I will. I can record a little video for you. I can get you a personalized response back to you. I will do my best to respond to everyone, but you can drop those comments, and we can either review them on the next live stream, or I can. If you drop me your email to that. Oops, did someone just copy that in? I think someone did. If if you guys want me to answer stuff, I can do that as well. That's too funny that someone just did that. Literally just messed it up live. Who is this? I'm gonna find you. Oh, it's a visiting innovator. There you go. Thank you. All right. So let's go ahead and jump in, guys. We have a pretty expansive lesson today when it comes to Bo. It's probably Bo, man. Bo's just messing stuff up already. Hold on, my Miro board is frozen now. I'll let me jump in here. Just give it a quick refresh. All right, good to go. Okay. Look at this. Look at this. People are already messing with it. Look at that. I said it once and people are already messing with stuff. That's all right, though. I love it. Okay. That's what it's meant for. You guys can utilize this as much as you want. Okay. So don't be afraid to mess things up. I have a copy of it somewhere. So if you do mess it up, it's not a big deal. I promise. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and hop in today, guys. If you guys missed the previous lessons, part one, we talked about market leader positioning and specifically niching down. So if you guys are looking for, if you're in the stage of trying to find what in the heck should I niche down to, this is a great lesson on niching down. Go back and watch that one. That's the very first one that we did. Last week's stream, we went a little bit deeper. We started off on this thing called the Big Ten. Okay, basically kind of solidifying some of that market leader positioning, and it was a really great lesson. There's a couple suggested reads in there if you guys are wanting those reads, and then from there we built out a lot of frameworks around who you are, what you do well, what proof you have, and why do people want the service that you're offering. So would highly recommend jumping back in there and being able to check this one out, because it's going to correlate very closely to what we're going to be talking about today, which is continuing on with the Big Ten. So we covered the Big Ten 1 through 4, and then number 6 we skipped the core value side of things, and then today we're going to be covering kind of like 6 through 10. We kind of skipped around, so we'll actually be covering 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10 today. So once again, very similar concept to last week, but a little bit different roadmap today that we'll be going through. So if you guys have questions as we go along, feel free to drop me a comment in the chat, and I will do my best to answer that question as we go through some of these frameworks. But if that sounds great, drop me some dubs in the chat. Lee Media said the Big Ten, baby. All right, here we go. All right, good stuff. Nick Lauer, last stream helped, finally niching down. Let's go. Love that. All right, let's roll, baby. We got a lot to cover today, and I want to make sure I'm cognizant of your guys' time today and make sure that we don't waste any of it. So first thing that we're going to be starting off, we skipped it last week, and as you guys remember me explaining last week, core values is a pretty large piece of today's stream, and then 30-day impact items are pretty large of today's stream. Everything else will be relatively quick. The quarterly radar items, quarterly theme, and projections. That's what we're going to be covering today. So 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So let's go ahead and jump into core values first. And it's so funny. Every time I teach specifically on this subject, it always makes me laugh because people tend to roll their eyes on the concept of core values. And I think it's because most people just don't do core values correctly. And they think it's something that is supposed to just be, a laminated poster on a wall. It's something that people don't revisit very often. And that's just not what core values were designed for. Okay. And so core values are essentially what we believe. Okay. Internally for ourselves. Okay. These are the core beliefs that we hold true, maybe as a person, but also what we want to hold true for our business. They're not meant to just be a poster hanging on the wall. They are meant to be something that we can live and breathe daily. Okay. And these specifically help us in decision making and guide us in decision making. So that's what we use core values for. It's not just something that we throw on a wall. It's not something that we throw inside of a mural board and say, okay, like here's some core values that our company is going to stand for, right? It's not surface level. This is how we make decisions daily within our business. This tells us who we hire. This tells us who we promote within our organizations. Tells us who we fire within our organization. If it's a misalignment in the core value, then a lot of times we can understand that the decision should revolve around a no. And if it's in alignment with our core values, then the decisions will revolve around a yes. So your decision-making process will move much faster if you have core values instilled in your business, because those core values guide you to the correct decision. And if you reflect on the core values, it makes it a very clear yes and a very clear no. Is that making sense so far? If that's making sense, drop a thumbs up for me. Okay. So where do we move from this? Well, if you've never established core values, a lot of times you're like, I don't even know what core values I want to do. There's probably a lot of them. And as you can see here, I've got a nice little list to build from where you can essentially start picking out some of the core values that you might hold true. And a great exercise to do when you're choosing the core values for your business is simply just getting a list like this. And you can Google a list like this. This is a list that we utilize inside of our program. So you guys can utilize this in your own build out. And then what I did is I just came in here and I just highlighted a few of the ones that I felt resonated specifically with me. Now, we're not going to have, how many are in here? Six core values. We're probably going to narrow it down to 4. But we have a list of core values that we start with, and we can kind of pick and pull from things that might hold true to us personally, might hold true to the business, what we want our team to believe in, what we want to start building the culture around, right? So this list hopefully helps you guys narrow that down. What you guys can do is copy these specific tabs over into your own list, and then just come through here and just highlight a few of these things. Maybe conviction is something that you want to be a core value. Come in here and just highlight it, and then boom, you guys can start to pick and pull specific core values for your business that you might want to set in place. Okay. So first thing you got to do is pull from a list. Okay, pretty simple, pretty straightforward there. Okay, and then from there, how do we get those core values, or how do we take the core values that are highlighted above and then actually execute on them and set expectations, right? And basically, all of this revolves around setting those expectations from our service from these core values, right? So that's what we're aligning with, and so narrowing it down is the next step, right? So we take the core values that we really resonate with, and a lot of times we can find that some of these core values overlap with one another, and you don't necessarily need specific ones, right? So let's say responsibility and commitment as an example here. Those two core values actually correlate decently well with one another. So we don't necessarily need both of those. So we could probably eliminate one of those and just, build something around commitment and responsibility and have it under one core value, right? So when you're picking out your core values, see which ones you can like just eliminate simply from, are they related at all? Okay. Now, I picked out a couple ones. These are actually the core values within our business. So these are ones that I hold very deeply. So growth, relationships, personal happiness, and profit. These are four of my favorite core values. You guys can steal these if you want to. Don't feel like you have to necessarily just do this on your own. You can't take some of the core values that I've learned. I've actually learned some of these core values from other mentors that I've had. So, especially the personal happiness one, which I'll go a little bit deeper on here in a minute, and especially profit. These are our core values that I actually took from other people that I felt were very applicable to what I do, and I love their message on it. And so I brought that into my business. So, with that being said, these can be your core values as well. You don't have to change these. You can change these, okay? But it should speak to who you are and what your business stands for, okay? So after you narrow it down, we're going to add taglines to bring these core values to life. At the end of the day, I think you can have core values that are just rotating around a single word, but we do want to bring them to life, and our team should understand what growth means, right? What does growth mean? Like, I don't know, are we going to grow like Bo Jackson in middle school? I don't know. That's a good question, right? Uh, what does that actually mean for our company? So we're going to add a tagline to our core values that makes it a little bit more lively and actually makes it actionable. Okay. So core values with taglines. Core values with taglines. So let's go through some of these. These are actually the core values inside of our consultancy, but these are also going to be the core values in the pretend agency that I'm building. Okay. The first one's growth. We strive for a new level of achievement. Okay. Now, when we talk specifically on growth and striving for a new level of achievement, well, it's pretty self-explanatory there in all things that we do within the business, inside of our even our personal lives. We are striving for a new level of achievement, and we're not staying at the baseline that we started at. Okay. And if we're not growing, then at the end of the day, that goes against what we truly value as a business. Okay. So relatively straightforward there, but we do strive for a new level of achievement every single day. The second one here is relationships. Relationships, we genuinely care. For us, we never put revenue before the relationships with our clients. It's just something that we believe to our core. We will do right by the people that step foot into our business. Okay. That has to stay center because for us, this is actually our QBR as well. We talked about this last week. Our QBR in our consultancy is actually uh, 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 relationships with our clients, right? So like we protect that at all cost. So just know that this might also correlate to the QBR that we set last week, your queen bee role. Okay, and if you guys missed that, go back, watch that one. The third piece here, personal happiness. We're here because we want to be. This is my favorite core value that I've ever discovered in any business. And I'll give you a quick story on why it's my favorite core value and why this will forever be a core value in any of my businesses that I ever run. This will be in every single one of them. It relates to just people within your business. It relates to your leadership team. It relates to any employee that you bring on. Okay. Is that the whole core function of our business is personal happiness, right? We're here because we want to be. Okay. It's a really powerful statement to be able to utilize inside of your business because one, we want our team to be happy with the jobs that they have. Okay. That's the core function. But there's subsets of this that really work well when people aren't happy inside of your organization. Right. And the best thing that I can relate this to is a story that one of my mentors actually told me when we were building our first agency was he had a teammate on his sales team that was very misaligned in their core values of personal happiness. They were misaligned inside of the business with their KPIs, wasn't upholding the standard of the business. And he was able to relate personal happiness into the tough conversations that they were having, specifically on not hitting KPIs. They had to hit a certain amount of dials. He was an excellent salesman. He's actually their top salesman in their company, but they had to hit a certain amount of outreaches in a day, and he was never hitting KPI. And he was always making excuses of why he wasn't hitting KPI. He was very much against hitting KPI. Okay. And so, but he was still hitting his like top line revenue sales numbers, but wasn't doing the outreaches to do it. He was a very talented individual, right? But essentially the CEO of this business did call this guy into his office and basically explained to him that, hey, when you go against the grain of what our KPIs are and what the rest of the team has to do, and you still outperform everyone, right? That affects one, my personal happiness, because these are things that we've instilled into our business and that everyone else follows, but you don't. Right. And so for me, like that affects my personal happiness. It makes me actually not want to come to work. It makes me not want to work with you. Jeez. Powerful statement, right? So it easily outlines how it affects other people within the business in that people's actions are reflected back on everyone else's personal happiness. So in my opinion, this is one of the best core values to have in your business. If you ever want to have, a tough conversation with an employee, you can always reflect on personal happiness and how it changes the dynamic and the personal happiness of people within the business. Always is a great way to reflect back on a tough conversation that you have to have. So we love personal happiness. We're here because we want to be. That is the whole key premise of having teammates, having people within our business, is that everyone is happy, right? And it's not always the case, but that's the goal. Okay. Moving on from that one, profit. We think making money is great. One of my favorite core values, profit. Okay. We shouldn't be ashamed of making our money. We shouldn't be ashamed of making great profit within our business. So we have it as a core value, right? We talk very openly about profit margin. We talk very openly about the revenue numbers. Okay. We want the team to be aligned that we are here to make money. Okay. So with that being said, profit, one of our core values, and these taglines help bring it to life. So add taglines to your core values. It helps. My recommendation, no more than 5 core values. I'm a big fan of 4 personally, but you can have 5. But I would say anything over 5 is just a little bit too much. And you'll have some redundancy when it comes to probably the core values you have if you have more than 5. So with that being said, try to minimize the amount of core values that you have. That way they're easily, relatable and they're, we don't necessarily need our team to memorize these word for word, but we should be able to reflect back when we're giving praise to the team, when we're giving, obviously, not criticism, but what do you call it? Feedback, right? Positive feedback to the team. Okay. Yeah. Constructive criticism, if you will, right? We reflect back on these core values and how it either aligns or misaligns with these core values. Okay. So that's why we have core values. I will die on the hill of having core values within the business. And if you don't, I think it's very tough to uphold the culture that you're trying to build. Okay. So this helps solidify your culture, right? So build core values. Look at all my friends in here. What's up, Cameron? All right. Let's move over. If you guys have questions on core values, drop it in the chat. Caleb, good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well, my man. All right. So let's move over to impact items. Okay. This is like my second favorite thing outside of core values. This is my second favorite thing inside of building an agency, which is 30-day impact items. Now we're going to go back. I talked a little bit about the consultancy, but remember that we are building this specifically for a digital agency that does content creation for female entrepreneurs that have an underdog story. Okay. That is the premise of the agency that we're building. So as we kind of start to dissect some of these pieces here, you're going to notice that I'm looping that back in. Okay. So let's talk on the 30-day impact items. This is the concept of 30-day impact items. We will go into an application here in just a second, but this is the concept. Okay. Now, super simple. These are primary objectives you and your team need to accomplish over 30 days. I love visionaries and I love thinking 5 years down the road, 3 years down the road, however far you want to think. But if we don't make it actionable, if we don't make the pieces that we're trying to build out actionable within a 30-day sprint, sometimes we get a little bit too lost in the clouds. So we like to work in 30-day increments. You guys can work in 60-day, 90-day, whatever you want to do, but you should have a nice list of primary objectives that you're trying to accomplish in a 30-day window. Okay. So 30 days, it's my personal preference of the sprints that we do. I know some people that do 60 or 90-day sprints. We do 30-day sprints. It's a personal preference. You guys can adjust that timeline to however you want to do it. If you want to do 90 days, that's totally fine. But for the sake of this example, I'm using 30 days because that's what I've done for the last 4 to 5 years. Okay. So 30 days. Caleb said when someone breaks core values and you have to, let's pull this up on the screen real quick. Okay. When someone breaks core values and you have to have those conversations, what does that look/sound like? So we always reflect back on the core value, right? And how it goes against the grain of core value, right? So, I mean, the conversation is in my opinion, relatively easy, especially if you guys preach these core values daily. Okay. And so when it breaks a core value or when you have to have a difficult conversation, you need to be able to just reflect back on the core values. Hey, Caleb, this is something that, as a company, we just don't stand for. If you remember, one of our core values is X, in the action that you did doesn't align with that core value. It actually goes completely against it. And so we can't have that, right? Do you understand why we can't have that? Okay. Because it misaligns with our core value. So it's a relatively simple conversation. Just use the core value as your kind of like backbone of why you're having that difficult conversation with that person. Okay. So that's normally how we handle it. It's a super simple conversation. It is not something that needs a ton of explanation. It like honestly, it could be a 5 minute conversation. That's all it takes. Okay. So that's how I do it at least. But hopefully that helps. Cool. All right. So primary objectives next 30 days. Okay. Let's talk about it. So we have 4 rules to impact items. One, we already kind of chatted about this, but they must be set and reviewed every 30 days. Must be set and reviewed every 30 days. Crucial. Okay. If we don't set these every 30 days, this is a completely useless exercise. There's no point in doing it. Okay. If you do this for 30 days and then you're just like, okay, next 30 days, we're just going to go off of what the mission was and what the game plan was. It just doesn't make any sense. So if you don't set these and review these every 30 days, they're useless. So this only works if you're consistent. Okay. And we do this within our organization every 30 days. And in the previous lessons, guys, we talked about this rhythm, right? Very rhythmic. That's the type of business that we want to create. Okay. Have to be rhythmic. And so every 30 days, we stay to that rhythm of resetting these impact items. Inside of our consultancy, we're having this meeting tomorrow, actually, to reset a lot of these impact items. Our whole team will be there and we'll be able to reset those together. Okay. As you're growing as an organization, sometimes you have to do this by department. So sometimes you go leadership level impact items, and then you go into specific departments. But a lot of you guys here are just kind of getting your footing in the agency space. And so it'll probably just be, with you and your small team. Okay. If you have a larger team, this might have to break out into specific departments. Okay. Now, 2, for the impact items, reflect on being able to generate, retain, or expand your revenue. Okay. So whenever we build these specific items, they should 90% of the time reflect on your ability to generate more revenue within the business, your ability to retain revenue within the business, or expand revenue. Okay, so what do each of those mean exactly? Because they all kind of sound similar. Well, generate would be new revenue. Okay, this is new sales coming through the door. Okay, you're working your pipeline. Tyler keeps kicking my camera. All right, so your ability to generate new leads through the door for your business. Okay, so this is new revenue you didn't have before. Retention or retaining revenue, your ability to keep revenue within the business and not churn it out. Okay. Churn simply just means you're losing revenue from the business, you're losing clients in the business. Okay. So your ability to retain revenue. And then lastly, your ability to expand revenue. Expansion just means clients that you currently have that might be paying $2,000, $3,000 per month, and expanding them and getting them to a higher retainer, $5,000, $8,000, right? And we do that by maybe stacking services. We do that by maybe adding in extra value for them that you can actually charge for. Okay. So impact items reflect on generating, retaining, and expanding your revenue. And then each impact item should have an owner and assigned to someone that will actually report on that. And then at the end of 30 days. Okay. And sometimes, and we'll talk about this due date here in a second, but we should have an owner who's assigned and report on the result at the end of the 30 days. Okay. Relatively self explanatory there. And then the last one here, each impact item should have a due date. right? Because sometimes some of these impact items, they don't take a full 30 days. Maybe they take 10 days. Okay? And so that's how we build it out. We kind of prioritize the things that we need to get done. And then we put a due date attached to them, and then we assign it to the right person. Okay. So each impact item should have a due date and a person assigned to it, not two people assigned to it. One person needs to be accountable for it. You can bring other people to work on impact items, but one person needs to be held responsible for getting that completed and making sure that they get the resources that they need from other people on the team to actually complete that. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. What did you say, Tyler? Off camera, Josh told me he was going to chop my feet off next time I touch his camera. Hey, man, don't touch the camera. All right, let's move down here now. So the most ineffective months are still successful if you just get a few of these needle moving impact items done. If you guys can just do a few of these revenue generating items, generate, retain, expand, you're going to see that you're stacking revenue or you're retaining revenue. Okay. These are the most important things that you can do within 30 days, right? So your most ineffective months, if you're having an off month, totally cool. But if you can really force these few things through, you're going to still make progress within the agency. And this is one of the most important things that we do within our business. But hey, if we have a bad month, that happens, right? We all go through, sometimes burnout at times. Sometimes we're not on our A game. We get in funks. But if we can have a list of things that we actually accomplish, okay, super important for us to be able to actually make progress on a month-to-month basis. Okay. So if you've ever been curious on, man, how does it feel like people are always making progress in their business? They always seem to be growing. A lot of times they have items that they have to get done, no matter what. And only if it's only 2 or 3, they're still making progress on revenue generating activities. Okay. Okay, cool. But how? So operational lanes. And this is a little high level for where we're at currently, but we will come back to this at a later time. But this is a structure everybody inside of this stream should get used to. So when it comes to the lanes of agencies and how agencies actually function, well, they function across 5 specific lanes. And you could argue maybe 6, but for simplicity's sake, we're going to stick with 5. So we have a lead gen lane. So our ability to attract new clients through our door. Okay. Marketing efforts. So lead gen marketing, same thing. You can name the lane either one. Sales, our ability to take those leads that we generated and be able to actually convert them into paying clients. Fulfillment, whatever the service specifically is, our ability to take that sale, move it into fulfillment and say, we have these specific deliverables that we must fulfill for our clients. Finance, so our ability to, once again, retain revenue within the business, understand the financials of our business, collect the data within our business. Okay. All of that happens under a finance lane. And then lastly, human resources. A lot of that is going to revolve specifically like in these trainings, human resources. It's not so much like, yes, managing employees and like leadership and those things. But when we talk human resources, we're mostly talking about our ability to hire A player talent within the business. So human resources, think of that as like your hiring processes, your ability to attract A player talent into your ecosystem. Okay. We're not going to go super deep on this. At a certain point, yes, we will go extremely deep on these 5 lanes. But this is this is probably 2 or 3 streams in itself, being able to break out these lanes and actually explain them to you. Okay. But remember the structure. Okay. Because we'll come back to it later. Okay. So I'm not going to cover anything else there, but if you guys have questions on that, I'm happy to answer them while we're here for a second. Okay. So we're going to move back up the arrows here up to 7.1. So this was 7. 7.1 is more of the application. Okay. How do we actually set impact items? Well, remember our lanes. Remember our lanes down here. We're going to carry those over into impact items. Okay. So lead generation, we're going to build specific impact items. You're going to notice that I don't have a lot of things on my impact items for the month of February. Okay. The first thing that I'm going to be doing for lead gen, I'm just going to set up my Twitter and LinkedIn profile. I'm going to do that by the end of the month. Okay. So this is one thing that I'm going to get done. Okay. This is specifically tied to lead generation, my ability to tie new leads, because this is where I'm going to start fishing for a lot of my new clients is going to be Twitter and LinkedIn. And I'm not even going to start my outreach yet, but this is where I feel I have the best bet of getting new clients through the door for me. So I'm going to set up my Twitter profile. I'm going to set up my LinkedIn profile. From there, I'm going to start following and engaging with 10 female entrepreneurs per day. So if you guys remember from the previous stream, we were building an agency that serves female entrepreneurs that have an underdog story. We're going to do some content creation, specifically curation. So the post production uh, on those specific entrepreneurs. Okay, so we're going to do the post production, we're going to do some copywriting, we're going to do the posting. That's going to be our main service line. Okay, and we'll get a little bit more into that probably on the next stream. But once again, I'm going to start following and engaging with 10 female entrepreneurs per day, and I'm going to do that consistently over the month. Okay, that's it. That's all I'm doing on lead gen for the first month. Super simple, not extremely hard at all. That's where I'm starting though. Okay. From there, we're going to move into the sales lane because eventually I'm going to have to make some money, right? So I'm going to develop some brand guidelines. Now, okay, here's the thing with brand guidelines. People will argue this all day that your brand, your website, all of those pieces should come at a little bit later date. I'm a creative agency. In my opinion, I need a visual resume at some point in time that's going to show people, hey, Josh actually can do what he say he could do. And there's a place that people can go and check out my stuff. I'm a big fan of having a website developed. I'm not a huge fan of just, starting to sell stuff without much of a background and not having brand guidelines developed. So personally, this is where I'm going. Some people will say it's a waste of time. Well, hey, all I have is time right now. So at the end of the day, if I was running this agency from scratch, I would just do this stuff and I would do it right the first time. That way it's done and out of the way. I don't have to focus on it later. So yes, I'm going to get my website developed. There's a lot of people out there that would say, you don't need a website. Hey, personal preference here. This is what I'm doing. Doesn't mean that you have to do it, but I'm getting my website developed and I'm putting my brand guidelines into place. And then from there, I'm going to start building my first offer. Suggested read here. I meant to drop this in. So I'll drop it here. Actually, let me put it in a sticky note. That way I don't mess this up for you guys. So suggested read. You guys already know what I'm going to say here, probably. So, but I'll drop it anyway for you. So $100 million offers. Alex Hermosi. Okay, if you guys haven't read that book, would highly recommend it. If you've never built offers before, this is a great playbook, guys. Like it's kind of a master class on building out good offers. So would recommend this if you guys are starting to build out offers. So okay, so building my first offer. Okay, I got to start constructing it at some point. I need to have something to sell. Okay. Nick Lauer, this is great. Thanks. Cam, fire suggestions. Cam, dubs all day. Okay, love it. All right, so let's move to fulfillment. So, guys, notice how simple these lists are. They're not super elaborate. Okay, I don't like they're. It's very simple things that I'm getting accomplished over the next 30 days. Okay, now I'm just running this by myself. Okay, I don't have a team or anything helping me with this, so it's got to stay simple and it's got to stay extremely specific. Okay. After that, we're moving into fulfillment. So for me, I'm going to develop my internal CRM. This is more of a maintenance task. Now, this doesn't necessarily correlate to me generating new revenue. So we call these maintenance tasks. I said at the beginning, 90% of what we do is going to relate back to generating revenue. This is one of the things that's not, but this is going to help me start essentially being able to manage clients when I start signing them on. Okay. So I'm going to develop the internal CRM. And this is going to be a maintenance task for me. Same thing with creating naming conventions for content storage. Okay, I got to put content somewhere, so I'm going to create some naming conventions for content storage, and I'm debating if I want to do a specific lesson on that, but we'll kind of see. I'll probably lay out a lot of this stuff for you guys. So literally, if someone wanted to steal the exact playbook on this, they would have everything from naming conventions to an internal CRM, all of those pieces. So okay, but that's what I'm doing for the fulfillment lane. Down on the finance lane, I should probably set up my LLC. Okay, these are also maintenance, and a lot of the beginning tasks, guys, are probably going to be a little bit more maintenance oriented because you got to have an LLC to run a business. Well, I guess you don't have to, but eventually you're going to need it. I'm just going to get it out of the way. Let's get it out early while I still have the time and while I don't have clients. Okay, and then I'm going to set up my profit first bank accounts. This will be an entire lesson by itself as well. So I will get you guys a nice little lesson on profit first. If you guys haven't read that book by Mike Michalowicz, would highly recommend that one as well. Here, let me drop another sticky note here. That way you guys can remember that one. Bring this down here. Okay. Profit first. by Mike. I don't know how to spell his last name. It's a nightmare. But Profit First by Mike McAllowitz. Would highly recommend checking that one out as well. Okay. But I will do a lesson on that one. And I've done a lesson. If you guys have been into any of my other previous live streams, I've done actually lessons on Profit First, but I'll retouch on it just to stay in the order of how we're building this. Okay. And then the last piece, human resources. I'm not hiring anyone for the foreseeable future. I'm going to get this thing probably to 30,000, 40,000 before I look at hiring my first employee. Okay. Just personal preference. I think I could do a lot of this by myself. Maybe 25. Okay. 25, 30,000 if I can. And I'm not gonna worry about anything in human resources for the time being. Okay. Boom. So that's my impact list. That's what I'm focusing on for the first 30 days of me running my business. Pretty simple as far as the tasks that I need to get done. Josh, what if I get done in 15 days? Okay. Revisit the list, build out another one. Okay. Eventually you'll have enough things here that it'll take you 30 full days to actually do. But if you get done early, awesome. Good for you. You're a hustler. I love that. Go ahead and set up a new list. Cool with that? Let's go ahead and pull up Caleb's question here. I feel like 90% of what I'm doing is maintenance with team, little effort on sales. So a lot of times if we're doing a lot of maintenance tasks, we're going to notice stagnation and growth. So if you've seen some stagnation and growth, then we probably need to flip-flop that, right? So go more 10% maintenance, 90% more production focused tasks. Okay. Now, there will be times where you have more maintenance stuff, especially if you're hitting a growth phase. With Caleb, I know that you've kind of seen some rapid growth over the last few months. That's why I'm taking the approach very early on, specifically with this agency, of getting a lot of these frameworks set before I expand. Okay. So I'm not even worried about signing clients yet. As far as you know, I'm living in my parents' basement and I'm just building these frameworks out. Okay. If you guys have the ability to do that, would recommend it until it's essential that you actually move out. Okay. But if I'm starting a business, if I'm just kind of getting into the game, this is what I'm doing right here. Okay. I'm not worried about landing clients yet. Okay. Maybe I'm working another job in the meantime just to pay my rent, pay my bills, living pretty minimally over the next few months here while I start putting the infrastructure in place. Okay. But anyway, if you're doing 90% maintenance, sometimes it's needed, especially if you feel like things are breaking. So sometimes we do need to go into maintenance mode, but normally we try to take care of maintenance over a 30-day stretch. Let's go ahead and get things where they need to be, get really focused on what needs to be done for that maintenance month. And then boom, we're back into production and we're back into growth mode again. Okay. You guys cool with that? But what are you saying me for? What the heck? I don't know. I have a pop-up that came up. How do I get this up? Like, there's like a news article that I can't get rid of in my bottom right-hand corner. Oh, there it goes. Okay. This is like Donald Trump just popping up. Okay. So hopefully those lanes make sense. Hopefully the impact items make sense. You guys, it is rhythmic. It's every 30 days. You have to stay on this rhythm. If you go off the rhythm, this whole process falls apart. You become very lost in the weeds of the business if you don't set these every 30 days. Set them every 30 days, make it rhythmic. After doing this for now 4.5 years, I can tell you that this is one of the biggest keys to staying focused and on point on a month-to-month basis. And once again, even if it's a bad month, you're still getting the essential things that you wanted to get accomplished done. Okay. Why is everyone just saying me in the chat? You guys are wild. I love it. Caleb, copy on the 30-day stretch. That was for building out a specific video. And then Bo, I want all the CRM and templates you can send me. Okay. I mean, I said, oh, did I send you that one yet? I need to email you something. You texted me. Oh, I know what I have to send you. Never mind. Okay. I'll get that to you tonight before I go to bed. Okay. All right. Does that make sense? Do you guys understand the impact items? The next stream, I'm going to show you how to organize this because this is crazy right here. Like, imagine if you had to like organize your whole business based off of these crazy frameworks. We're going to compact everything in the next one, but I want to make sure you guys are aligned with that so far. Okay. I'm excited for the next one because we're going to deploy something called the one-page impact plan. This is something that I've been following for the last 4.5 years. If you were a part of Welling Media, you would know this framework extremely well, and I know some of you guys were a part of it. So, but anyway, let's go ahead and move forward. Caleb, what offers would you build for them for content distribution? That's a great question. I haven't really thought of this yet. So, as far as content distribution goes, when I go to do the offer stream, I'll have a little bit more time to actually think about it because, I mean, I've been outside of the agency space for over 2 years now. So I don't really know what I would build out for content distribution right now. But I will put together an offer at some point and I'll have it built out and then I'll present it to you guys kind of like I did in this fashion here. Okay. So I don't know yet as far as what I would offer, but I will figure it out. And when I do figure it out, I will share it with you guys. Coach Cam to the CRM temps. Yeah, dude, go check them out. There's a whole video on that, guys. Maybe someone can link it in the chat, but there's a whole video on the CRM templates. I think it's like ClickUp templates you need in 2023 or something like that. It's on the YouTube channel if you guys want to check that one out. Okay, quarterly radar items. That's the next piece. I didn't give these numbers, but this is really number 8, I believe. Okay. So quarterly radar items. So there's going to be a lot of ideas on this list, guys, that you're going to want to try and accomplish in 30 days. Okay, you need to limit the amount of things that you're trying to get done. Okay. These, in my opinion, are relatively easy. But if you have like some really big moving items, you need to limit it to probably under 10, in my opinion. Okay. And so what do we do with the rest of the items that we're like, oh my gosh, I need to get this done. I need to get this done. Okay. Well, prioritize your list and then move the rest of them into quarterly radar items. We also call this parking lot, like parking lot items. So anything that we feel might be essential, but won't be worked on in the next 30-day sprint. Something that we need to get to eventually, but we're not going to work on it. You don't need to give this a due date or an assignee yet because these priorities will change over 30 days and you might take things off the parking lot. You might add new things on. And so those priorities do change. So you don't need to give it a due date or an assignee, but so you guys don't lose that thought process, we just throw it in a parking lot list. You can just, drop it in a notes. You can drop it in a Miro board, wherever you want to drop that. But we'd like to have a place to store some of those ideas that we thought we needed to work on. Okay, so number 1 here, I just listed some random ones. I said start cold outreach, set up payment processor, set up contracts, build onboarding process. Okay, those are just some parking lot items that I might have specifically in this agency. So just gave you a few examples there. Okay, no due date needed, no assignee yet. Not even gonna focus on them. Not gonna work on them. Gonna stay really focused on the things that I built out in this list. Pretty self-explanatory. We won't spend any more time there. Okay. And then the last piece here is the quarterly theme. Okay, so why should your organization have a quarterly theme? Why is this important? Okay, well, it serves as a sub focus for the objectives of the quarter. Okay, helps team understand the type of energy that they need to bring into the environment every single day, and it's kind of fun. Okay, so we always set a quarterly theme when it comes to I guess kind of the energy that we're trying to bring into the business during that quarter. Okay, and what exactly is a quarterly theme? Okay, once again, it's the attitude of the organization over the next 90 days. The quarterly theme that I'm setting specifically for this agency: simple, focused excellence. Okay, simple, focused excellence. I got a little ambition, a little what do you call it? What do you call it? Inspiration. There we go. Okay, I don't know why I'm having a hard time. I know, dude. I've had a lot in this stream. That's okay though. We're jamming. Okay. A lot of inspiration actually came from this today from Taylor Welch. Listened to one of his daily mind medicines, and he was talking about the simplicity and focus. So and how it leads to excellence. So that was my quarterly theme. A little inspiration from Mr. T. Welch there. So yeah. And so we're just gonna build out a quarterly theme. I think it's fun. It's the type of energy that we're gonna bring into our first quarter with this agency. Okay. Questions on any of the stuff that we covered today? Oh, there's one more. We're not done yet. Okay, so one more here. Okay, last thing's projections. Okay, projections at this stage, in my opinion, a little pie in the sky. So I'm not going to send a ton of projections right now. Eventually, projections are going to become extremely important in the business. But for where we're at now, I'm just not going to set very hard projections for the business. Okay, because I'm not even going to land clients in the first 30 days. Just not my main focus right now. Okay. So projections at this point in the agency are much different than an established agency. We'll be covering more in depth on projections in the future. Okay. But projections for this month, I'm going to gain 200 followers on Twitter just from that strategy that I laid out. I'm going to build out a sellable offer, a simple and sellable offer, and then complete all 30-day impact items. So those are my projection items, or that's my projections for this month. Relatively simple. These projections will build out. You're going to have sales projections. You're going to have, there's so much data, right, that you can collect specifically in the agency. But for this first 30-day sprint, we're just going to keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Okay. The more simple you can keep the business right now, the better. You're going to go at just a faster cadence, faster speed. You guys cool with that? Dope. So you guys take what you want from this, copy and paste it into your own Miro board. Okay. Go back, watch these previous lessons. Okay. They all build on one another. Next week, we're going to be developing a one-page impact plan. What the heck is a one-page impact plan? Well, you have to come next week and find out what the heck it is, or watch the replay if you can't make it next week. But hopefully this stuff was helpful today. This kind of wraps up the rest of the Big 10 that we were talking about. And I think these Big 10 are really going to make sense, especially next week when we collect all of this information back into a one-page impact plan. And I'll show you exactly how we lay it out. And it is a very crucial piece of our business that we run today and the agency that we used to run. So excited to show you guys that next week. But any questions specifically on this week, we can also answer questions outside of what we covered this week or last week. Happy to go open form questions in the chat right now. Caleb. What up, Andrew? Caleb said, if you have multiple pods/teams on different projects, accounts, clients, would you run them on the same goals or different goals / quarterly themes? So normally quarterly theme is going to be organization wide, but as far as goals go and KPIs for pods, normally you're going to have separate KPIs, or at least you're going to have similar KPIs. But sometimes that's the thing with creative, Caleb, is that developing content for certain brands, you might have different deliverables for them. So, ideally they're pushing out the same amount of content, but content is just such a weird like timeline of delivery, because it changes so much depending on the clients that you're working with, the type of content you create, right? So you might have different KPI across those teams, but there should be some sort of KPI set for each of those pods. Okay. You should have an idea of how much content they can push out, and you should be pushing that those KPIs on them on a monthly basis. Okay. Hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if you want me to go more in depth or if there's a follow-up question specifically to that. But quarterly theme, normally going to be organization wide. It doesn't make, in my opinion, I don't want to keep track of like 10 quarterly themes, just one. And then second follow-up question here, assuming one, thinking you refine that team is currently contracted. Yeah. So one quarterly theme. Okay. Hey man. I mean, Andrew, talk to Joe. See if she's coming next week, I'll always have Joe Mama on, All right. Any questions specifically on anything that we covered today? Any questions outside of what we covered today? Happy to jam for a few minutes here. If you guys want to come on the stream, you guys can jump in here as well, and you can ask a question live. Aunt Jemima, you guys are ridiculous. What questions do you guys have? Happy to jam a little bit more. Andrew, you want to come say what's up for a minute? The king of content himself. You guys want to jump on here? Let me know. Here, I'll drop the link. You guys can come chat for a minute. Andrew just got home. You can jump on from your phone, Andrew, if you want to. Click the link. I just dropped the link in the chat. There he is. Good looking.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me
should I switch to wide?
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. Vertical.
Dude, sick. Yeah, I just
What's
got
up,
home
bro?
from yoga.
Yoga. I did yoga yesterday. It was excellent.
Dude,
Did you
love me
do
some
hot
good
yoga?
yoga. Yeah, so when COVID happened, this like yoga instructor that I went to all the time, she started like doing yoga at her house basically and like converted her basement into a yoga studio. So I literally just go to this lady's house, go to her basement with like 4 other random ladies, and we just do yoga. And she has like a bunch of heaters in there. So it's like hot. It's hilarious, bro. My life is
Sounds
so funny.
sketchy. That sounds so sketchy.
It's actually so nice though, because like everyone there is like very focused and like very into it. So like you're not gonna run into a bunch of like goobers at the fucking like gym that are just like they don't know what's going on. It's nice. It's nice so there's not so much explanation. You're just like,
Yeah.
you know.
I get it. I get it.
But
Man.
anyways, how's it going, man?
Good, brother. Yeah, man. I mean, dude, the live stream's popping today. We had like 10, 11
Dude.
people in here. We got 9 right now. We're
Dude,
growing.
I was pumped to see. I was pumped to see Caleb in there, dude. Sorry, I haven't seen your IG message yet. I saw you send me a message and it was a video, so I was like, I need to like take a second to actually watch it. I can't just like casually open it.
Wait, I sent you a video?
No, Caleb did. He was like,
Caleb.
check your IG in the chat.
Oh, that's too funny. I love it. I love it. The follow-up
Yeah.
game is strong.
Dude, super strong. It was funny because I saw Caleb in the chat. I'm like, oh shit, I need to watch this thing.
Yeah, 100%.
But
let me ask
dude,
you real quick. Real quick. Caleb had a specific question on how you guys keep track of like pod KPIs. How are you guys currently tracking KPIs across pods? Because I know creative is so interesting when it comes to the different projects that you're working on. Some projects take longer, some clients take longer. How are you measuring KPIs specifically across pods right now?
Yeah.
On an individual basis, or do you guys have kind of set KPIs across everyone? And here, I'll bring Caleb up right now too. Boom. What up, dude?
What up, guys?
What up, brother? Uh-oh. We just lost Andrew. Caleb, are you on Safari by chance? Yeah, you gotta switch over to Google. For whatever reason, this app doesn't work on Safari. So if you switch over to Google, we'll be able to hear you, but like you come through really robotic if you're on Safari. So switch over to Google if you can, and then we'll get you back in. I think Andrew just connected to his Wi-Fi or something. So we'll see if he comes back or not. Cam, let me answer your question real quick while everyone's reconnecting here. What are the key challenges to consider when expanding the agency's service and offerings to new markets or clients? Do not expand your service offering to new markets and clients right now. One market, one client, hit $1 million, and then you can go ahead and expand. Okay, so don't expand until you can at least hit $1 million, in my opinion. Okay, so we're going a mile deep on one service, on one offering to $1 million, and then you can expand. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. All right, let's bring Caleb back up. Boom.
Hello,
Caleb.
hello.
There we go. We got him back
Andrew.
now.
What's up, guys?
What up?
Good to see you guys. I'm
Good to see you
stoked,
too,
man. This is amazing. I'm super excited to be on here, first of all, and thank you, Josh. Thank you.
Of course, man.
I had a quick question regarding the systems and the ops. So when we spoke in Nashville, I was like, oh, I need an operator. Oh, I need an operator. Like that was like what I took away. But now that I'm like back in the trenches, I'm like, no, I just need to build it out. And so like a lot of the maintenance, when I was like, hey, I'm in maintenance, it's like a lot of the SOPs weren't created prior to onboarding client. And so we're building out SOPs and delivering the deliverables to the client. And so it's felt like a lot more effort. However, that's a misstep that we're learning from, and we're now implementing before any onboarding any more clients.
Yeah.
A lot of our current clients are very, they're like all done for you in different deliverables. And so like one client has a set deliverables, set KPIs, another has something completely different. And what I realized from Nashville is like going very deep just in one lane. So if we're serving coaches and consultants that sell a digital product and do X amount in rev, and we have 3 different packages for them: low ticket, mid ticket, high ticket, with different deliverables. We're creating those SOPs for those packages, and then we're going to be doing the outreach to be selling it, and kind of just niching down until, like you said, we hit like a million in rev. But one question that I had is, with building out let me pull up the Miro real quick.
Yeah.
With building out those systems, is it best to, like, per client, per individual, like I don't have a head of sales, I don't have a head of fulfillment, I don't have a head of finance. Is it in the start just me sitting down with like my small team and setting ownership on different tasks, and then me kind of being the brains in terms of like what we're doing in the next 30 days, the next 3 months? Is that what really has to be implemented to start?
Yeah. So that's the starting point, right? Like, we're going to, like, as a solopreneur, you're going to champion a lot of these things right off the bat, and that's totally fine. But as people start to step up, you can essentially, hopefully they say, hey, let me take that off your plate for you. That's the ideal scenario. But also you can offer it to them as well of, hey, do you think you have the capacity to tackle this impact item? Right. And so as you continue to develop the people within your organization, they start to step into leadership. It allows them to step in and take some of these impact items, hopefully off of your table, and step more into leadership, and actually helping you build the business. And it's really funny because this is something that Andrew actually did a really good job of when they started the creative department. Was he just took the reins? Like, he just stepped in and started taking over, essentially some of the most important pieces of building out the team. Making sure that the team was following specific KPIs, right? Like, he stepped into that role. And although it was expected, he did it anyway, right? It's like, that's what they brought him on to do, but he stepped into it very early.
I think something else that I think it was Nick said this on stage in Nashville as well. Like, if you're trying to like promote someone, it's really hard to promote them into a job that they aren't already kind of doing. You know what I mean? Like, people will kind of show themselves. They'll start to do the things that like they're drawn towards and stuff like that. So like, you might have someone that you hire for like one thing, but then they kind of like start moving in like a slightly different direction. Then you just have to have the conversation like, hey, it seems like you're interested in like moving over here and kind of taking on more responsibilities. That's something you're down for. And then it's just like, they're like, yeah, actually that's great. And like, I've been realizing that's a hard part about scaling a team is like, you don't know whether you can promote from within or whether you got to like hire a new person, and sometimes you don't know that, but I think it's always best when you can promote from within, because that person's already going to know so much, and it just like, it just helps a lot.
Yeah, that's what I've been realizing recently. And it's been cool to see that ownership kind of take over in the last like 2 weeks from the individuals that are on the team, and do get it, I would say. And some people don't get it, other people do get it. And it's cool to see the individuals that do get it and they're down to take on that responsibility. Yeah. I am curious, like, Andrew, what KPIs are you guys currently utilizing to like manage like editors, to ultimately like have them constantly excited about editing and moving forward on new projects, etc.? Like, what does that kind of look like? And then second part is like, how many editors usually can work within a pod? And per pod is it distributed by the direct amount of clients that pod can hold? Like, how is that? I'm curious, like, with those pods and the distribution of that content and the team, how it kind of like correlates.
Yeah, I'd say content is like one of the more, it's probably the toughest like pod structure to kind of nail down, typically just because the skill sets can be so like flexible, I guess you could say. Like, it's pretty common to find like a videographer that's also a pretty decent photographer. Like, you don't have to have a photographer and a videographer, you know what I mean? Like, maybe that role could be combined, or like, maybe there's a video editor that's like super sick but can't shoot or whatever, or there's like, so there's like different roles that are like kind of combined. So anyways, as far as the structure, I'll get into that after I talk about the KPIs. So the KPIs, typically, like the way that we're setting them is based on like the output of the team itself. So we have like shooters on the like pre-production, production side, and then we've got like editors on the post-production side too. But pretty much everyone that's involved in the pre is like also being involved in the post, and there's just extra help happening in post. So we're still measuring it only in like the final like deliverables. So, you can kind of say that the shooting side isn't being like tracked as much, but it's like the shooting's got to get done, whether it's, you know what I mean? Like if the shooting doesn't get done, the video can't be edited anyway. So it's like, it's not as hard to, it's not as hard for people to like fall behind on the shooting side. I feel like it's easier to like slow down on the editing side. So anyways, so what we have is like a point system that we've designated across all of our deliverables, so that we can like not only internally can we kind of like think about how we would like substitute different things in a package. So for example, like we would say like one video is worth like 4 points or whatever. So if it was like, hey, I want to get like one less video and I want to get more stills, how many stills can I get for like subbing out one video? So we know that if a video is 4 points, the lowest deliverable we have is like 10 stills, which is 1 point. So for 40 stills, you could swap out one video essentially. So like we kind of have like a point, like I said, we have like a point system across all of our deliverables so that we can like know what equals what kind of, because it gets really messy when it's like, when you start to be like, oh, well, this video was a lot more effort, so it should have taken him more time to edit, versus this video is like super easy. He could crank out like 4 or 5 of these in a day, like, so once you kind of develop your own internal point system, that's like really helpful, at least from even like a crafting packages standpoint, pricing standpoint, and tracking your like all around deliverable standpoint. Because you can kind of just see like, okay, guys, we need to hit like this many points this month. And so it doesn't really matter about like the size of the packages or whatever, because it all gets like tallied together into like a total amount of points, if that makes sense. And to be completely honest, like, we've struggled with keeping that tight, like keeping that system like very accountable and like actually calculating up the fucking points and shit. Like we have it like built out on a dashboard on ClickUp and stuff, where anytime a new project gets like put in, the points are calculated and all that stuff. But sometimes like you end up over delivering for a client, and so technically on paper like that was more points. So it's like, do you reward the team for going over the, doing more, or do you like, only tally the points that were like paid for, you know what I mean? So that's kind of what we were doing there. Hopefully that wasn't too convoluted.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, we're doing like story points from like an engineering standpoint based off of effort. So one video might be like a YouTube video that's 30 minutes long, could be like 21 story points, compared to a Reels might be 5 story points. And then we can measure the completion. Is each editor getting assigned a certain amount of points as well, like in the post-production process?
I think in an ideal world, like if everything was working perfectly and like it was just running like clockwork, I'd say totally. I think like as of right now, it's kind of more like we kind of just try to fill in the gaps like as needed. Like, okay, we've got to, we know we need to do this amount of videos, like this editor's free, let's have him like work on it. So there's sometimes just like a little bit of jumping around, at least on the remote editor side. Like they're just kind of available sometimes if there's like weird hiccups with shooting and stuff. So we'll kind of, they'll float a bit. And so on that side, it's like we kind of just base it off of bandwidth and like what it seems like people can take on. And then really kind of after that, we'd be like looking back on the week or whatever to see like, hey, did this person, like how many points did this person edit this week or whatever. So we're kind of using it more to like look back and like track progress of like the previous week, versus like I'm going to assign this person 12 points this week, I guess. But I think in a perfect world, we probably would be. So, yeah.
And also just know, Kayla, like this is a system that most people don't have fully flushed out yet. you got to think like content at this capacity where we're like the content that you're doing, it's mass content. The content that foreign media does, like they produce a ton of content. Like it is content at scale. And so, even when we were doing this within our agency, you got to think like this started in 2018. So this is only 5 years old, and people are still figuring out how to properly track KPIs. And so for this, like you're just gonna have to test a bunch of stuff and not like hope that it works, but continue to battle test things and make adjustments to it.
You're totally right. I think about it all the time about how like new our jobs are. Like
So new.
And it's so funny because right now I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about hiring too, because I've been doing a lot of hiring stuff recently. But like with hiring, for me, it's like hard to find someone that can like I'm right now I'm basically trying to find someone that's like gonna fill my role on like the client side of things, because I want to be a little bit more on the internal side. So like we're trying to find like basically a creative strategist, creative director type person that can like come in and just kind of allow me to be even more hands off on the day to day, so I can just focus more on like just the bigger picture type stuff. And it's hard because it's like some of these applicants are like, I've been in the industry for like 20 years, blah, blah, blah. And then I look at their portfolio and all the type of stuff that I'm looking at is like such old school stuff. Like they're working on, I did this campaign for French's mustard, and like I like did, you know what I mean? And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, this is sick stuff. Like if I had this in my portfolio, I'd be like pumped on it because these are like huge brands. But I'm like, dude, I don't think this guy is gonna come in here and understand the pace and the cadence and the just like e-com D2C side of it. I'm like, our jobs are, even though like this type of stuff and content creation and like making videos and making advertisements even like has been around for so long, but the style and like the like way that we're doing it now is just like so different that I'm like reluctant to like hire someone that's like kind of one of these like veteran dudes, because I'm like, I don't even know if they're gonna get it, like you were saying earlier. Like some people just don't get it.
Yeah,
so it's weird.
A lot of those people come from the TV production world, the high production, less direct response marketing
Yeah
world.
And what's funny is I've heard this from a lot of people that work in like commercials. Like everyone on set is like happy to be there because they're getting paid well, they're getting fed, like they're getting to do what they like to do, but they're all pretty much in agreement that the client is like completely overpaying. You know what I mean? Like they're like, we're all getting paid and this is like a cool ad or whatever, but like it's not worth this. You know what I mean? Like we could be making this concept for way cheaper, but like they want the best of the best, and like we're gonna charge it and we're gonna do it with a smile on our face. And it's like I don't know, like I'm just from the world of like, let's try to figure out how I can film this in my bedroom with like me and my camera and like a couple of cool lights or something. You know what I mean? Like I'm like so on the other side of it that, and I feel like that's the type of people like I want. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Do you think then, like, especially with everything being so new, like 5 years old, basically, it's like, do you think that the people that are going to fill your role are individuals that you kind of have to like nurture and like develop and kind of like build from the ground up, because they can start at the bottom and then progress through like the process and the systems that you guys have developed? Or is it like that person that is from production and is from media just has to be able to develop quicker? Like, what do you think is more efficient to do like, in that scenario?
I mean, I know, for example, like Starbucks, they don't like to hire people that have worked at other coffee shops because they want a blank slate. Like they don't want someone that's got set in their ways and they're in, like they like, yeah, I know this is the Starbucks way of making coffee, but like that's not how you're supposed to do it. I'm going to do it the way I was taught originally. So like, I think honestly, it's like, as much as I'd love to just be able to kind of like hire someone off the shelf or whatever you want to say, like just hire some guy that's like killing it. Granted, there definitely are people out there, for sure. They're probably working at great agencies, to be honest, but I think it is hard to like find that person that can kind of just plug and play. I think there's always going to be some level of like people coming in and like learning things, but I think it comes down to like finding those people along the way that just like really just feel so effortless. Like as soon as they come on, you're just like, wow, this is like, you're awesome. Like you're great. Like you get it. You're killing it. And like those are the type of people I think are like the type of people that you nurture and you try to raise them up like quickly up the ladder, not necessarily quickly, but like try to raise them up the ladder to like really, dig into their skill sets, because they get it. They've got something special. And so I think in a scenario where you're in a pinch and you want to scale fast, it's like, it'd be nice if you could just kind of hire someone and they can just fill the role immediately and know exactly what's up. But I think if you want to like really have a great foundation and stuff, like having someone from within that just knows a lot and has been around and stuff is like typically, and also it kind of alleviates the whole like awkwardness of like seniority, and also like people feeling like they've been around the longest and now there's like some new hotshot guy that's going to be their boss and stuff like that, which you just got to kind of deal with that sometimes. But there's pros and cons to both. But yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
No, it definitely does. That's great feedback too. I think that's what I'm seeing is like from within our team and like the system and processes, like the people that are excelling are the people that like have seen it be built and they've been like there the whole time, versus trying to bring someone in and they have a better skill set, but they don't understand like the framework and like the system because it is so new. And the coffee shop analogy, like actually it makes sense. Like if you have a director that directs in a certain way, or a system and ops guy that built a company a specific way, and you're trying to build it like what we're talking about, it's so new and different, you almost have to like build it, break it seems like, and then refine that process. And I think that's when like we're talking with you guys and learning from you guys has been the cool thing of like how mathematical it is of like the system and processes to hit the goals, but then also like understanding like to hit those goals, my big takeaway is like you're gonna have to like build and break systems. You can't just build one system and one Miro board and like expect it to produce like the results that you want for the next 6 months. It's like a constant like refinement and like paying attention to it that I've implemented since Nashville, and it's been already yielding like tremendous results from an efficiency standpoint. And I wanted to like share that with you guys because it's been cool to see that. One question that I had for you, Josh, and this will be the last one, appreciate your guys' time, is within like building out the systems, you said that like you guys are doing it every 30 days. When a core value is broken, and is it wise to have like a strike? Like I have a 3-strike system, basically like getting written up. How do you qualify like, this definitely deserves to be written up versus like, this is borderline, we're going to like let this one slide. Especially if someone has good potential, but they aren't following like the guidelines and the core values.
Yeah. Good question. I mean, HR is always one of those things that is a very difficult thing to navigate. But as far as like, hey, like what dictates an instant write-up or an instant firing versus just like, hey, maybe like a verbal warning, and we use a 3-strike rule as well. But it's almost like gut feeling. Like when someone does something within the business that's an action that just is it's a fireable offense or it's a write-up offense versus just something that needs to be like, hey, whether we didn't hit a KPI this month, maybe we were a little bit late on a project. Hey, more of a verbal warning type thing. If it continues to happen, then we move into a write-up, and then after that write-up, then we move into termination. But a lot of times there's always when we do any type of write-up or anything, we're usually going to do a verbal warning first. So we're going to have a talk about that, but we're also going to talk about what happens next, right? So we'll have a verbal warning, be like, hey, also, by the way, if we continue to see this, like, and normally if I'm giving a verbal warning, it's probably happened a couple times already. And so that verbal warning, I'm just going to let them know, hey, Caleb, just so a heads up here, if we have to if this happens again, we're going to move you on to performance improvement plan, and we're going to put some action items in place for you to hopefully coach you into being able to fix a lot of these issues, right? And then if we have to move into that performance improvement plan, hey, Caleb, we're going to do like a 30-day performance improvement plan here. If we don't see improvement in this in 30 days, we're going to have to move to termination. We don't want to do that. It seems so crazy that we're even having this conversation, but we just can't do this because it doesn't align with this core value. And we've already talked about it, a couple times already. So just a heads up, if we do have to continue down this road, this is what happens next. And then what's really nice is at the end of the conversation is if at the end of the performance improvement plan or during the performance improvement plan, things don't get better, it is the easiest firing conversation you'll ever have in your life of, Caleb, we had verbal warnings. We put a performance improvement plan. We gave you resources to actually fix this, and we still haven't done it yet. If you were in my shoes, what do you think our next action should be? And every time they're like, well, honestly, I'd probably fire me. Okay. Well,
I mean, I would fire me just from that conversation.
and my favorite thing is just all you have to say is, well, you know what, that's going to be our decision today. And then all we do is like kind of just go through our checklist of what we need back from them. Yeah, we need your laptop back. We need, we need keys to the building, whatever it is, whatever the checklist
Your dignity.
Is. Your dignity.
Good job. We need your job back. What for the performance improvement plan, what have you guys found is like the most like reliable / yields the best result, I guess?
As far as, well, I guess it depends what the performance improvement plan's about, right? We have a template that we utilize for performance improvement plans. If you shoot me an email, Caleb, I can send that over to you. But we just use a template and then we just build out the performance improvement plan. Normally we want to point out, the inconsistency, but then we also want to give them something to work on in order to improve that inconsistency. So we're going to put maybe a KPI in place. Maybe if it's something more on like the tactical side where like they're missing a skill set or something along those lines, I'm going to provide them a resource to get better at that thing. Right? Whether that's, hey, maybe we get on a weekly training together and I show you exactly how, if they're not completing stuff in ClickUp, right? Hey, on a weekly cadence, we're just going to jump on a 20-minute call, 30-minute call together, and we're going to work through how our cadence works in ClickUp, right? Something like that, right? So I'm going to provide as much resource to them to have success in that position as I can. That way, hopefully we can fix it.
Love it. Yeah. Love that. That makes sense.
Yeah. And I was going to add on to that a little bit. Like, I think for me, when it comes to having someone written up or just like a verbal warning, I think one of the biggest indicators is like, was it an honest mistake? Like, when you really think about it, is like, did they really not know? Was it because they really were just misunderstanding? Or was this something that they could have thought about, or they probably thought about and chose to do something that goes against what they probably knew was the right thing to do? And for me, sometimes that's literally like, neglecting to do a responsibility, over and over. And then it just results in, me finding out about it or whatever and just being like, yeah, dude, come on, man. Like, I understand if this was like a day or two slipped by, but you have like neglected to do this responsibility for, this many weeks. Like, I can't say that this was like an honest, thing at this point. It's like, you're just not doing your job, and like stuff like that. And I think also like, it's hard when it's really hard to fire someone when you know that they're really actually trying and they just aren't that great at their job. That's the hardest. 'Cause it's like, it's one thing, it's much easier to fire someone that is talented, but they're just not doing the thing, or they're, being shady, or they're breaking the rules. And it's a totally other thing when someone is like really giving it their all and they're just not stacking up. That's the hardest time to like fire someone. And I think you got to kind of start addressing it as you go, or the elephant in the room is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's going to become even harder to like have that conversation later. So like, start having those little, even though it's like kind of annoying and like it's sometimes not enough to like bring up, you're like, it's such a tiny thing that like, it's like, do I even want to address this? But all those little tiny things like add up eventually to like one big thing, and then it kind of blindsides them. You know what I mean? So it's like you kind of owe it to them as a leader to like point out the little things so that you don't have to have an even harder conversation later, I guess. So, but yeah.
100%. Dude, yeah, I completely agree with that, man. You can't let things fester, right? That's why we have one of our core values within our business is growth. Like we strive for a new level of achievement, right? That is like, in order for me to grow you, even the small stuff we have to correct. And that is simply what I tell my team. Like, hey, I don't mean to be nitpicky, but this is how we have to do things. And we have to continue to press into these trainings. These are all new positions for everyone pretty much on our team. These are all new skill sets that we're learning. And so we're going to get you guys the best capabilities possible. We're going to get you in the best place possible to do your job effectively. And that means nitpicking on some of the minor things. And it's not from a place of I'm just like nitpicking to nitpick. This is just how we have to do things because this is what scales. And once you build a culture specifically around growth and achieving the next level, everyone starts to adapt that because when the core foundation believes that, the new people that come in, they almost exit themselves from the business if they don't like that type of culture. And it's one of the best things that you can do inside of your culture is have that almost nitpicky culture of like, hey, like this is actually how we do it, even if it's the small things, right? Because then your team starts to correct them, and it's like a cascading effect. Anyone that comes in, they all adopt this culture of growth and higher level achievement and doing things correctly the first time.
For sure.
Killer.
And you'll feel those people. You'll feel those people when they're not a good culture fit. Sometimes it's the best when they end up, like you said, exiting themselves. Because it's like kind of, it sucks because in a way you're kind of admitting that you made a mistake in hiring them, but in the other part it's also like kind of a sign of relief, and you're like, it's kind of like, okay, cool, you know, now I know what not to look for and to trust my gut. Like for example, there's a guy that I brought on for, you know, a 2-month contract, and it was because I didn't love his portfolio, but I really liked his application. He sent in a cool video, and he seemed like a likable guy, and you know, I wanted to give him a chance, but his portfolio like didn't really have what I wanted to see in it, but like I saw that there was potential. And at the end of the 2 months, you know, it just really still wasn't there. And I'm just like, damn, now I got to have this hard, you know, at least it was like a contract situation where it was like, hey, we're at the end of the 2 months. What's going to happen here? It could go either way. But it's still kind of like solidified to me. It's like, okay, next time if there's someone like that where you're like not sure of and you want to like do a 2-month contract thing just to kind of like see, it's like, it's probably not worth it. It's, you know, as much as they're like a 60 or 70% fit, they're not 100% fit. So it just kind of sucks.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Love that. Josh,
Beautiful.
You said that you wouldn't, you would do everything solo until you got to like 30-ish thousand, 20-ish thousand.
I would do my best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One question that I have for you is, regarding that statement and then like seeing the system and like process build out is, when would you decide you're going from contracted to full-time, whether it's any role, less like in the creative world, but specifically for me, it's in the creative world. Like, how do you decide like this is contracted versus this person's full-time? Is it based off of revenue? Is it based off of system processes being built? Curious on that.
Yeah, great question. So in my opinion, a lot of it is based off of margin. So I need to understand that I want to bring a certain amount. And so I'm assuming that I have zero bankroll, right? There's no cash in the bank with this new business that I'm building. So I'm going to get myself to 3 months of operating expenses as quickly as possible. And then from there, I need to know that I can sustain that operating cash flow and still stack more on top of it as far as profitability goes. Then I'm going to feel really comfortable on bringing on my first either contractor or full-time hire, right? But I'm going to get to 3-month operating expenses as quickly as possible in any new business that I launch. And until I do that, I'm definitely not bringing on any employees. I'm not bringing on contractors. I'm getting myself to 3 months operating expenses, and then I'll bring on someone. Just personal preference. You don't have to play it that way. But I mean, dude, I am a big fan of safety nets and making sure that, hey, if I collect $0 3 months in a row, which is worst case scenario, almost never happens, right? I'm going to be just fine.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's exactly what I did. I forgot you're building it from zero. So that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I'm going to do my damn best to try and get to 30K before I hire someone. I might bring in a contractor or two, just to help fill in some work, but full-time hire, I'm probably not going to bring on a full-time hire until 30K.
30K in the bank, or 30K
30K per month.
Per month. Copy that. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you so much.
Well, dude.
I don't know how I pop out of here. Oh, leave.
Oh.
Top right corner. There we go.
There you go.
Caleb's dipped.
Peace. Wait, Caleb, did you want to say something before you left?
No, I was gonna say thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Anytime, brother.
See you guys.
All right, buddy. See you later.
Peace, dude. I'm in the same boat. I'm like, I need to go inside my house and like shower and stuff.
Yeah. I'm gonna go get some dinner. So we'll wrap things up here. I'll answer Mason's question real quick. Andrew, appreciate you, brother. Thanks for stopping by,
dude.
Man.
Thanks, man. Peace.
Right,
thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. All right, Mason, real quick, let's answer your question, and then we will jump from agency therapy tonight. But Mason said he got promoted from a warehouse position to basically start the media department. So I have no clue what I'm doing. What would y'all do to start building the business image / media presence? Great question, man. So it's really difficult to say, like, only because I don't know exactly what media platform you're really talking about, or like what the media department actually is. For what type of company. So if you want to, shoot me some DMs. I'm sure you can find me on Instagram or on Facebook or something. Shoot me some DMs and happy to help out where I can there, man. But yeah, just send me a little bit more context and hopefully I can get that question answered for you, man. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, like, there's a learning curve involved in anything new. Be studious, come to stuff like this, explore YouTube University, jump into some good books. Maybe I can give you some recommendations based off of knowing what specific niche you're in and where you're currently at. So just let me know, man. Shoot me some DMs and happy to answer those questions. Dope. You guys, thank you so much for coming today. If you guys don't mind, leave a like on the stream, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Would definitely appreciate it. Come back next week. We're going to deploy the 1-page impact plan. I appreciate you guys being here, and we will see you next week for a little bit of agency therapy, baby. Love you guys. Peace.